Hello and welcome to the Inner Gamer On. My name is Brett Yanofsky.
I'm Devin Duree.
And I'm Austin Morales.
Today on the Inner Gamer, in this discussion topic, we are going to be discussing evolving video game franchises. This discussion first came to light when we heard about Far Cry 5's announcement of DLC, in which they have a game that's a very serious religious cult-based game, and their DLC consists of zombies, spiders on Mars, and then going back to the Vietcong.
What in the literal hell?
Literal hell.
Where did that come from? Where did all that come from?
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Like, okay.
By the way.
You know the episode of South Park where they're talking about how the manatees write Family Guy episodes?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's kind of what the situation we have going on. Like we have aliens on Mars with zombies. Perfect.
Actually,
Yeah.
I was thinking the South Park episode with Margaritaville where they cut the chicken's head off and he just runs around in this little thing.
Either or. No, both are valid options of how this DLC was created.
That's so true.
Both are valid.
So true.
Man, South Park,
So-
he did it again.
So anyway, I have this. I just split this up into two conversations. So
Okay.
there's one part is going to be post-launch evolution, and then the other part is going to be pre-launch evolution. So games that shifted and changed before they launched, and then games that shifted after launch.
Sure.
So let's start with Far Cry.
Okay.
So let's go way back in time. Far Cry 1.
Yep.
Like, it was a thing that was made by Crytek, which is most people don't realize that.
I did not know that. Oh,
Crytek on the island, and it was, attacking the island or whatever. And then after Crytek got off of that, they went off and started Crysis, and then it got picked up by somebody else, and now it's being made by Ubisoft. And that was with Far Cry 2, Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4. In the between, you had the first departure of this franchise with Far Cry Blood Dragon, which was standalone DLC. That was bonkers crazy.
It was bonkers, but it was the right kind of bonkers.
Oh, so good.
It was really
good.
good.
It's a
like
game
that,
no one knew that they wanted.
Like, seriously, like as far as like that 80s retro sci-fi pulp style game,
Yeah.
I was like the whole time you're playing, like, I don't know what's happening, but I fucking love every second of this.
So Far Cry 5, they've announced DLC for this one. And I just the contrast between these two games is incredible, because Far Cry 5, as we mentioned before, religious cult set in Montana. There's this guy who basically, if you don't join up with their religion that they have, you're basically going to get killed. X'd off, done. Very, very serious
Like,
game.
that's a very serious tonal theme for a game.
Yeah, and but then they've mixed in these. You can play co-op. You can drive cars off of things. You can fly airplanes. All these somewhat more silly types of things amidst this serious storyline.
Shit that everyone did in the first Halo multiplayer, where you just try to put as many grenades under a warthog as you possibly could to launch.
Oh, that was so much fun. I used to love that. It was great.
Great times.
But then, so the DLC comes out, and they have three things that they're announcing with the season pass. So one of them is Dead Living Zombies, in which it pits players against hordes of undead-like zombie-infested wasteland.
Zombies.
Dead Living Zombies.
Dead Living Zombies.
Dead
That is
Living.
the dumbest name I have ever heard for a DLC. Dead Living Zombies.
Oh, it gets worse. Well, not really worse. It's just different.
The Dead Living Undead.
It's all crazy. Yes, Dead Living Undead. Then they have Hours of Darkness, which is where you go to Vietnam and battle against the Vietcong. And then they have Lost on Mars. Get in a spacesuit, drop them on the red planet, and fight spiders.
Why are spiders on Mars? Like, you didn't want to go with an actual maybe alien theme, or
Wait, didn't Helldivers have spiders?
Yeah, but that made sense.
Helldivers had aliens, bugs.
Yeah, exactly. Same difference. Bugs.
No.
It's all bugs, yeah.
No.
It's all bugs.
I mean, it's silly.
Arachnids. Okay.
It's silly and weird. But I think Far Cry needs to figure out who they are. They need to
they're doing a Call of
find
Duty
an
thing
identity.
where it's like, they started the zombie thing, but then the last one was Advanced
like
Warfare.
the whole 80s and crazy.
Cool, but it was completely out there, and which made it better. But this is just we don't understand what you're doing here. What are you doing? What are they doing?
I get it, sort of.
I don't get it.
But I don't. I mean, it's trying to just make diverse gameplay types with this world that they have established.
Rather than focus on the one hook for your game, which is already great. A religious zealot in Montana, deep state. You've got some crazy shit happening there. That's great. That's a great hook. I'll play that game. But then, like, you know what? We really want to appeal to everybody that we can. So let's also get some, I don't know, spiders from Mars or something. Dave, are you smoking? I'm just throwing out ideas,
no,
man.
the manatee is.
Maybe they were just really drunk and they were like, let's just make a bunch of this crazy shit and make it happen.
You know what I think would be a good part of the game? Is if you put it in with dead living zombies.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. Hand me another Pabst Blue Ribbon.
They took our jobs.
No. They basically looked at Blood Dragon and were like, that was a really good idea. Instead of doing a standalone game, let's just make it DLC.
Yeah.
But so the thing that bothers me about this is that, I mean, I haven't played all the Far Cry's. I played them, but I haven't like gone through them extensively because I don't really like those experiences for whatever reason. But these are the kinds of things that I feel like I would have a blast playing. Like, I love the idea of like this dead. I mean, I'm sure Dead Living Zombies is going to be like outrageous and stupid and weird. And then same with like Lost on Mars. That's surely going to be outrageous and crazy.
Right.
Like, I feel like they should pivot and evolve the game towards the like Far Cry Primal wasn't serious or wasn't funny or whatever, but that was such serious. A departure from like their other stuff. And I like the idea of them doing something where you have like a central focus in terms of you have one character pitted against all these enemies or whatever, but put it in like vastly different experiences. But then I think adding the humor could be an interesting twist for than with Far Cry, because Blood Dragon is a perfect example. Like, that was so good and everybody remembers it. But I mean, people like Far Cry 2, I guess, for the challenge and whatnot. But I mean, can you really tell a difference between Far Cry 3 and 4? I mean, there were different locales, but can you isolate why there were different games in any specific way? But are they memorable?
And the gameplay had evolved a little bit.
I loved Far Cry 3's villain.
Yeah, it was
like
good.
Versus Far Cry 4.
Mm-hmm. Versus 4.
Yeah, I mean, they were different. I mean,
bit.
they were both still very good. I mean, yeah, the atmospheres and the settings may have been somewhat similar, but I mean, for me, like, what was great about Far Cry, I mean, that was a fantastic casting, character choice. Like, man, memorable villain. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Psycho.
Yeah.
And you yourself was like, you know, as you play the game, you know, your character's like, well, I guess I saved my friends, yay. However, I am messed up. I am a bit distressed now in the head.
Right.
If you guys could define what Far Cry is, how would you define it?
Basically like an Indiana Jones like esque going out and being thrown into these really shitty situations where you have to survive. First-person shooter thing.
Yeah, I would describe it as a more cinematic first-person shooter. Maybe not to
Adventure.
The scale of something like of
FPS adventure, semi-RPG.
Semi-RPG.
Yeah, semi.
I mean, like, not necessarily to the caliber of something like Uncharted, especially since Uncharted was vastly different in the realm of third-person, first-person, and very linear story, but it is very cinematic in a way. I mean, everything you do in that game has a very cinematic feature to it. When you're healing yourself, I don't know how many bullets I dug out of my forearm.
Oh man, that was great.
Right.
Far Cry 2, and 3 and 4, but Far Cry 2.
There was some cool.
Let me
like,
heal
effects
myself.
with that.
I'll break my wrist again. Okay, now we're great.
Yeah,
we're in good shape.
Yeah, it's more of like an open world cinematic FPS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, most of them have been open world. You know.
Right.
For the most part.
I don't know. It's so weird to me. Like, because I mean, I like Far Cry. I think it's interesting. I always love watching the trailers and stuff like that. But once I get into the game, I'm glad that the Far Cry 5 is going to be adding the co-op aspect to it, because I think that's an important part of this. Because I feel like the other ones, like, I like them a lot, but playing with a friend, I feel like is going to be something like with Borderlands. Like, I never would have played Borderlands if it wasn't for the co-op component to it.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll talk about that more later. Yeah, because it got really, really challenging and everything. And I feel like Far Cry should have probably realized that sooner and put that in there, and I probably would have gotten more attracted to it. But again, they still have, I mean, it always catches my attention, and a lot of people love that game, but I feel like there is just always, it's like they're reinventing something every time, but not the right things.
Well, it's like every time they're trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Every time,
Yeah.
every friggin' game, and again, to me, it's that it's that standard Ubisoft modus operandi is take a great idea and just fucking make it mediocre.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah, how can we
It's
take this
very true.
amazing idea and just water it down until it's kind of blasé? Anybody? Why don't we do just that? Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, millions.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know, but I'm excited to see what these DLCs become.
They could be silly and they could be fun. But I wish ultimately that more attention was paid to the core game and its story and not make it so cartoonish.
Right.
Don't make it cartoonish. It doesn't need to change into a cartoony.
But this hasn't really been a trend, has it? Where like really crazy DLC minus Advanced Warfare 2 or whatever.
No, I mean like a Far Cry 4. I don't remember what the DLC was for that. Do you guys remember
Far
what
Cry
they
4?
had for that? Yeah.
No, it was just more related to the actual world and story. It wasn't like this, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, just in general in video games, like I can't really think of people going like way out left field type thing.
Call of Duty for sure, but
The
like,
first
it was on
Borderlands
road,
did. When the first Borderlands did their zombie DLC.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Really?
The first
great.
Borderlands?
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
Borderlands DLC, yeah.
Well, then if you look at Red Dead Redemption 1, when they did the zombies, they had the zombie thing that went out there.
Everybody wants to do zombies.
That was
Yeah.
zombies.
Head on over to thegamer.net for our full podcast episode for our weekly game impressions and top headlines of the week.
That's one of
Side of my
me doing an
face.
interview. Here's one of all of us. We'll make some cool stuff in there.
Things.
Brett's also right here.
Like this video, subscribe, keep up with all the latest video game news and opinions that you care about right here on The Inner Gamer.